How would you feel if you and your spouse were suddenly invited to have group sex with your neighbors? Well, that's essentially what this movie is about. Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I will be talking about The Invite, starring Olivia Wilde, Seth Rogen, Penélope Cruz, and Edward Norton. The film is about a married couple who invite their next door neighbors over for dinner, which leads to an evening of unexpected twists and turns, which would then test the very foundation of their relationship. This film is directed by Olivia Wilde and it is her follow-up to Don't Worry Darling. And I gotta tell you, this movie is a huge step up. First of all, the dialogue in this movie is some of the most natural dialogue that I have seen written into a film in a long time. There were even times when I thought a character should say something, and they actually do because the moment called for it, which essentially gives me the impression that everything in this movie was properly motivated. This is definitely one of those scripts that I would describe as a parlor piece, which is basically a narrative that takes place in one single location, usually a living room, and relies heavily on intimate dialogue and very strong emotional performances from the actors. Some good examples of this are like Long Day's Journey into Night, or Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, God of Carnage, the list goes on. And this movie definitely feels like it was influenced by those kind of plays, but I'm happy to say that all the characters in this movie feel wholly original, and a lot of the comedy and drama in this movie comes from the awkwardness of how these characters have to share a space as they partake in these very uncomfortable, though also very titillating conversations. And the cast in this movie is superb. Olivia Wilde not only showed her strengths as a director, but also as an actress. There's a moment at the end of the film where I really felt for her. And Seth Rogen, I mean, in the past, I always thought that his best performances came from the film Steve Jobs, or even the Apple TV series that he created, The Studio. But I gotta say, after watching The Invite, he is definitely topped himself with this performance. But the standout of this whole entire movie was clearly Penélope Cruz. She commands the screen with her presence, her sensuality, and her intelligence. I mean, clearly this is the smartest person in the room, and she saw through all the bullshit that all the characters were dishing out at her. She's very reflective and authoritative in her observations, and the thing that was hanging in the air throughout the whole film was the idea that Penélope Cruz and her boyfriend, played by Edward Norton, were essentially the perfect couple. And I was worried we were heading in that direction, but thankfully, as the evening went on, the characters as well as the audience soon find out that these people are no different from the main protagonists. They have their own problems that they're dealing with as well. And what the film leaves you with is there is no such thing as the perfect couple, communication is everything, and once you stop being honest with your partner and yourself, that's when things fall apart. I must admit, I thought I was going to like this movie when I saw the trailer, but walking out of the theater, I felt like The Invite exceeded my expectations. I think this is one of those movies that they definitely should show students in psychology classes, because I think this is a perfect example of how you examine and repair a dysfunctional relationship, if in fact it can still be repaired. And not only that, it's also a hot piece of entertainment. If I had any gripes with this movie, honestly, they're pretty minor. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from Edward Norton, because for a while there, it seemed like he was being a sidelined character, but then he does have a moment where he shines, and at that point I thought, okay, it's fixed. And also there was a scene at the very beginning of the film in which Olivia Wilde and Seth Rogen's characters have an argument, and I thought that the energy might have peaked a little too soon, but then I realized that was just a way to introduce the audience to these characters who are clearly on the rocks. So even though I have my own preferences as to how things should have gone, everything in this film worked just fine for me. So I am going to give The Invite an A+. If this was an out of 10 thing, it gets a perfect 10. And out of 5 stars, 5 stars. If you have any interest in watching this film at all, I definitely recommend it. Thank you so much for watching my video, ladies and gentlemen. If you liked this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel for more content, and I hope to see you again next time.